evening, everyone. I would like to call the Hudsonville Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting for May 9th to order. Please note all board members are present with an excused absence for Andrew Dewitt this evening. I'd like us to please all rise and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up is approval of our agenda.
Can I make a motion to make an adjustment to the agenda and move up the retirement acknowledgements to after the recognition of visitors?
Yes, so we have a motion to.
Can I make a recommendation? Can we do it after the teaching and learning feature?
That would be fine.
That would be even better.
Does that work?
That would be fine. So we have a motion to move our teacher recognition up to below our teaching and learning feature. I'll support that. Motion from Dawn.
I'll support that.
Support from Mark. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right. First up is board recognitions.
We have, it's a great night. Thank you all for coming tonight. We have a lot of unique recognitions. We'd like to start by asking Mackenzie Cicero. I know you're there. There you are. You're hiding that back then. I'm asking Mackenzie. She's going to come up front, say a few words about Mackenzie. Mackenzie's a junior at our high school. Not only excels in the classroom, but also excels on the ice as a figure skater. So I just want to say a couple things that I'm going to ask Mackenzie, and she's been playing in this for about 4 minutes out of speak, so she's doing great. But this is a young lady that really commits herself not only to her schoolwork, but to a craft. And I got a chance to watch her on the ice in the English of a hockey game. It was amazing. And I watched figure skating on TV, not live, no offense, until that night. It was amazing. So she's trained internationally. She was invited to compete at nationals, but COVID changed those plans a little bit. She's qualified to participate in the U.S. Figure Skating South Series. She works with the U.S. team. And maybe you can talk a little bit about how you practice.
So practicing for me, I always have to drive to Lansing, and that's where I train. So training in Lansing does take away some time from being in school, but I'm so blessed to have the support of both my parents and my coaches, and most of all the Lord, to keep me able to balance both of those out. And I'm so blessed because that has also taught me discipline, and that's something that I'm very grateful that I get to learn at such a young age. So
on behalf of the Board of Education, and I'll say the high school administration team, I know Mr. Beal is here, and all of our administrators, thank you for not only how you represent yourself, but you do also represent Hudsonville, and we appreciate that. We know we're going to see you do amazing things. I know you also appreciate the support of your brother, who's in the audience. I know you didn't mention that. I'm totally kidding. I was kidding. But we'd like to give you a quick certificate, maybe a quick picture, and thanks, Mackenzie, for all this.
Thank you.
Before she scoots out, any questions for Mackenzie from the board?
Mackenzie, how many hours a week do you practice?
Around 6, so not as much, but that's because my practices are very far away.
Yeah.
Are all of them in Lansing?
Yes.
Is that right off the highway there, that ice rink facility?
That's no longer around.
Oh, that's not. Don't practice there.
7 miles or a car.
It's okay.
Thank you. Great job.
Next, we have a recognition. This is a unique recognition. As most of you know, we have a lot of construction taking place in our district. And traditionally, we have architects, we have construction staff that work on these buildings, and they work, I would say, in silos compared to the school system. They might work closely with the administration, with our central office, Mr. Briggs, myself, but they are on their own in their field. But every once in a while, they stand out and they do some amazing work for our kids. So I would like to ask Mackenzie Stefanich to come up and say a few words about somebody from our construction staff from Owen, Ames, and Kimball, and how they basically did something that is not normal for somebody in the construction field.
Well, Board, I have the honor of introducing you to Cole Marshall. Cole is absolutely dedicated to the construction project over at Park, but he's also absolutely dedicated to our staff and our students. And what that often looks like is, our roof has been cut into, so sometimes we'll have a water leak, and he's the first one to come in and figure out where the leak is and fix it. Or when we're MSET testing and the construction's incredibly loud, he's the first one to come in and make sure that our students can focus. One of the times that Cole was coming in to check on our building, I was in the office with one of our kindergarten students who had done a flip and fallen off of a bar and was holding her arm in such a way that we knew that it was broken. And so while we were waiting for her mom to come to pick her up to bring her to the doctor, my administrative assistant and I were trying to create a makeshift splint, and Cole shared that he also serves as an EMT. And so he ran out and got his bag, and he came back in, and he splinted her arm and wrapped it, and was checking her fingers and asking her questions and making her feel really comfortable, and actually making me feel really comfortable too. Because the notebook that I was putting on her arm was not going to be the trick. So I know that the Board of Education is going to honor you with a certificate, but I also have a really special certificate for you from our girl Brooklyn. She wrote, "Dear Mr. Cole, thank you for splinting my arm when it was hurt. You made me feel better. Love, Brooklyn."
So, Cole, just to be clear, we do have staff in our district that are trained to do this also, but we know that you are also on call, and now I have your number in my phone. So, maybe can you tell us a little about your story and what that looks like from what you do now and maybe what you got you the EMTs?
So I started at OAK right when I got out of high school just to go into construction because I kind of started doing that when I was younger, and then I kept running into car accidents on the road, and I'm like, maybe somebody upstairs is telling me maybe I should look into doing something with that. So then I went part-time at OAK, went to school to go get my Fire 1 and 2 and my hazmat operations certificate, and then I went to go get my MFR, which is medical first responder. That's the first level of medical when helping people for like a certification for the state. And then I was like, I really want to further my knowledge into this a little bit more. So then I went back and I talked to my department, which is Hopkins Fire Department, and they said, we'll send you to school if you want to go. So I said, okay, I'd love to. So then I went there. I think I've had my certification for about a year and a half, and then
You have to use it.
I did. And I'm on call with Hopkins every day after work and whatnot, so I go to calls regularly after work.
Well, thank you for taking care of not only the construction at Park, because I know that's a lot, but take care of our kids. We appreciate it. So, we have a certificate we'd like to give you, and we'll go from there.
Mackenzie, get in here. Scoot just a little bit. Okay, appreciate it. I didn't think you had to speak. Thanks for doing that. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to keep going with recognition. All right, next up we have unique recognition. A while ago, we were awarded a $1,000 donation to Hudsonville Public Schools on behalf of Williams and Company. And looking at different programs we have, I'd like to ask Mrs. Thomas to come up and say a few words. I don't know if there she is over here. Sorry, I'm looking. Mrs. Thomas over here. Also, Gary Hemmick is here, who's no stranger to Hudsonville Public Schools. And Manny's going to talk a little bit about what this $1,000 is going towards. And I do want to thank Williams and Company for their donation and continued support of our school system.
Yeah, so we talk about our LINKS program quite often, and I know that many of you familiar with that. At the secondary level, that takes shape as a class, and so it's very structured, and students have many opportunities to interact with one another. At the elementary level, that looks a little different in that teachers and staff often volunteer their time to coordinate those groups happening organically in the classroom, and then to extend that sense of community, we offer community events once a month outside of the school day, and usually that involves a fee. And so when this opportunity came up, we saw this as a natural opportunity to say, hey, we can make this cost-free to families to join us for these community events, both for students that are the links as well as the students benefiting from the links. And we try to create community through building notebooks and t-shirts, and so this donation will allow us to do all of those things without asking for a fee from families to participate. So I'm very incredibly thankful for Gary and his team to grant us this award, and I'm going to turn it over to him.
Great. Well, on behalf of Williams & Company Financial Services, this is our 25th year in the business, and so this year we decided that as a group we would offer 25 $1,000 donations to school districts across the state of Michigan for programs that are merited such a gift. This one, amongst many others, kind of rose to the surface and was one of the 25 selected from across the state for its validity and the impact it would have on not only kids but also families in the district. So on behalf of Williams & Company Financial Services, I'd like to present this check to the Elementary Links Program, Hudsonville Public Schools. Thank you.
So much.
Congratulations.
Picture night.
Let's
squeeze away from the podium. Come this way. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
All right, next on the agenda, sorry. Next on the agenda, we'd like to turn over to Mrs. Taylor to talk about our teaching and learning feature tonight, which I know is going to bring us Bennett and talk about our child development.
Yes, so you stole part of the punchline, Dr. Vanderjack, but yes, we have our child development course leader here tonight, Ms. Bennett, who actually does some great work. We have some two students, Maddie and Ellie, who are also going to talk about their experience with this child development class. They'll fill us in on all of the details. Not only is it impactful for the students, but it's an amazing opportunity to partner with community and serve some of our families. So, feel great.
Hello. My name is Andrew Bennett, and I am the teacher for our early childhood education class. And Amy and I have been trying to make this happen for almost 2 years now. She had asked me to come and do this presentation on this class that we offer at the high school. Maddie O'Gorman and Ellie Oldebecking are also with me tonight. They are two students who are with me, and they are in their second year, in being in this program. So this program is open to sophomores, juniors, and seniors at the high school who have successfully passed the child development class with a C or better. So we look at their performance in that class, and then we also look at their attendance, because attendance when they get into the early childhood ed program is pretty critical, because there's a bunch of little preschoolers who are relying on them to come and present lessons to them on a daily basis, Monday through Thursday. So some of the goals that we have for our kids in high school are that they would learn the process of writing a lesson plan. So we take them through that actual process of stating their goal and, warming kids up and getting them thinking about that, teaching through a lesson, checking that they understand what they've taught, and then they go through the actual, they have some type of supporting practice that they do. And in our classroom, I teach them, I do, we do, you do, and we make them chant that a little bit at the beginning so they get that process down in their head. We are trying to help them to be able to identify what's appropriate for preschoolers. So what's appropriate for a 3-year-old, for a 5-year-old, what can they do? A lot of them come in thinking, oh, well, they'll be able to write their name and cut out a hand and all this kind of stuff, and they can't do that yet. And so they learn that through guidance, through myself, through the independent studies, and they learn some of that through trial and error also when they're with kids and they're like, oh, you have to adapt that because it's not really going so well for you. We are trying to help them to apply the principles that they've learned in child development, some of the theories that they've learned, some of the things about personalities that they learned, that kind of thing. We want them to develop some positive strategies for dealing with some challenging behaviors that we can face in that situation. We have kids who are very experienced. They've been in preschool before. We have kids who come and if this is their first time. Today, we are 4 days from being done, and today was one of those days where we kind of looked at each other and went, what is happening here? We had three kids who got dropped off today just crying and like, what's going, and they've been fine for weeks and that kind of thing. So those are really good things for kids to see, just that hands-on thing that we learned in child development. And then one of the really big things that they see through our program is they see how those principles of routine, schedule, and consistency with those small kids help those kids start to manage their own behavior and start to do things that they just know how to do. In fact, today, these girls both took the AP Psych test today, and Maddie usually does a little thing with kids at the very end. And I was down there kind of in her place today, and I wasn't doing it, and all of a sudden the kids just started doing it right on their own, and I was like, oh, I better catch up and do this along with you. So those are some of the things that we hope for our high school students in the program. And then for the preschoolers, we're also hoping for a number of things. We're helping in child development, we teach these, we call it the PIEs with the M. And so that's physical, intellectual, emotional, social, and moral development. So through the lessons that the kids are preparing at school, we're looking at how is this going to benefit kids physically, intellectually, emotionally, socially, and morally. For a lot of kids, we call it a dip in the water. So a lot of kids have not done preschool yet, and the parents find out about this program and they go, ooh, this would be great for our kids to just kind of get their toes wet a little bit before they take on maybe, a half day or full day preschool program that next year. And then, of course, it does help to those kids to develop some independence in the preschool and, learn to manage things on their own, learn to get their backpack on and get their coat zipped and that kind of thing. And just, be on their own without their parents. Maddie has written some stuff that she is going to share with you next, just about her experience with our program.
So last year, as a first-year student in early childhood education, it taught me so many new skills and mindsets that I will take with me now and for the rest of my life. However, it all really started in child development, which Mrs. Bennett mentioned earlier. We not only learned about babies, but how they grow and develop into the toddlers that we teach at preschool. More often than not, I'll be in this class watching someone or something and be able to relate it back to the roots of this class that I learned in child development. This class really allowed me to get out of my comfort zone and explore new ways to overcome situations and leap into new ways of thinking, which if you think about it, is so crucial to learning and growing, not only for yourself, but for everyone around you. When you take this class, you start to look at everything a little bit differently. The ways others act around you, the ways you act, how to help others grow, but also what blocks the growth of others, and even just a mindset of how can I take this and make it into something that kids or even others in general can be able to benefit from and find interest in. This year, I had the opportunity to become an independent study with Ellie and 2 other amazing girls. This has been such a great chance for me to learn and grow my knowledge of preschoolers. This possibility has allowed me to lead other students, help them by guiding their learning, and coaching them to improve their teaching. In this experience, not only have I been able to improve my leadership skills, but also it has given me time to improve my teaching skills, and I can't wait to use it all in my experience for my future.
So I thought I would just take you through a quick, I forgot my preschooler stats. I'm sorry, I thought it was right. I thought it was on the, so preschooler stats, our kids have to be 3 and 4 years old to come and join us. We you have 20 kids on Monday, Wednesday, and we have 20 kids on Tuesday, Thursday, which allows my students an opportunity to see 2 different groups of kids, which is very eye-opening for them quite often. So here's a picture of our Monday, Wednesday group that we have going on right now. And this is our Tuesday, Thursday group. So we don't always have all of our kids there, but we're hanging right, between like 17 and 20 every day. And if you've ever tried to get a group of preschoolers to take a group shot, that's a feat in itself, I will say. So in a regular day, we have what we call morning meeting, which is where kids come together. They do the calendar, they do the weather, we sing a hello song to each child so that everybody gets a turn every day. So we start out our day with that. And then we go into 4 different rotations that my students are teaching. We have a small group activity, which is where they really have to get out of their box of thinking and really get some, things like a scavenger hunt, or today they were hunting for dinosaur eggs all over the preschool to find out what was inside the eggs. We've had, different carnival games and that kind of thing that they do in that small group. We have the academic section. The academic session is letters and numbers, and that is reserved strictly for the independent study students. That is their 2nd year, where they've taught the other rotations, but in the 2nd year, this is something they haven't done before, so they have to focus on that. We have the art session where kids are creating something, producing something that they get to bring home to their parents every day. And then we have an active play where we're really focusing on those gross motor skills, balance, twisting, jumping, hopping, running, all that kind of stuff. And our little kids rotate through those every single day. And then this is just a picture of some of the work that goes into it in the classroom. Our preschool goes 2 weeks on, a week off, 2 weeks on, a week off. And so when they're back in the classroom, they are just working in their groups, they're collaborating, they are putting together, right? If you walked into my classroom right now, you would probably think, well, what is going on in here? Because there's so much stuff in the back of the classroom that they have pulled together for their activities. And this is just some snack and playtime pictures that we put in there, that when my students change classes, it's a 2nd hour and 3rd hour class, they have to bus back, so we have about a half an hour where we don't have a group. And at that time, my independent studies are, running snack, doing bathroom break. They are, allowing kids to just have a little bit of free play time too. And now Ellie's got some stuff that she put together also that she's going to talk to you about.
So last year as a sophomore, I took the child development class, and then I moved on to early childhood education in the spring of that year. So from the very beginning of early childhood education, I knew that I wanted to be an independent study. Just from what I've seen the independent studies last year do, it just looked like something I'd really be interested in. So this class was new and fun, and it was much different than any class I had taken before. And there were no tests or quizzes, and our grades were based on grading lesson plans and group work and practical experiences. So I learned like a lot about like how much planning and effort and work is required of teachers. And when I was chosen as an independent study, I was excited to take on this new role for my junior and senior years, because I'm going to be an independent study for this year and then also for next year. And as independent studies, we're in charge of running and managing the preschool, as well as leading fellow peers and helping them build their teaching skills. And it's been so fun to see just like how much all like the high school students, which is all my peers, have like build their teaching skills and just help them in that process. And like another role as an independent study is ensuring safe drop-off and pickup. So me and another one of the independent studies are in charge of drop-off and pickup with the parents. So that's an aspect of preschool because it's really important because parents like to know that we care that their child's safe. And we also have an independent study who runs an Instagram account that parents can follow. And she posts daily pictures of what the kids are doing in order to keep parents up to date. And I also send out weekly emails where parents can learn specific information about what we've been learning, the themes for each day, and encouraging updates. And this is another side of teaching which we have learned about that many may not consider, which is the home and school connection. So while we're at preschool, we're filling out these sheets that are up here. So it's like a what we did at preschool sheet. And the parents love to know like what's happening when their child's at school. So we do make a point to find something special every day to write in the We Wanted You to Know section, which is at the bottom there. And when we fill this out, we're looking for something special about their child. We may point out, for instance, that their child was helpful to other preschoolers, or maybe knew the sound of a letter, or was able to identify their name on their cubby for the first time. And through all these responsibilities, I'm continuing to grow my teaching and not only leading an academic rotation, but also in what doesn't meet the eye. The things that go on in the background, such as the administrative side of things, are just as important. I've improved my teaching immensely through this wonderful experience. I've learned that teaching is not just an activity with the kids, but it could be cutting out paper dinosaurs for 2 hours in order to get ready for a lesson. Which the amount of prep that goes into this job is immense, and a lot of people don't realize that unless you've gone through it. So this has given me a new appreciation for teachers and all that they do. But there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that we as students don't get to see. But through this experience, my eyes have been opened to the incredible job that teachers do all day, every day. I'm so grateful that we offer early childhood education at HHS, as I know most other schools don't even have a class like this. Not only is it so fun to have this experience with the preschoolers in the middle of my day, but this class has helped prepare me for my future. My end goal is to become an elementary teacher, and this has been such a meaningful class that has given me the skills and perspectives that I never would have thought of before.
So this is the last thing, and they are just filling these out every day so that those kids have something to take home and they have something to talk with their parents about. And I really, in my classroom when I'm prepping kids for this, which isn't a very long time because of how our trimesters, and I really, really talk about the fact that the quality of this program, 100%, is about my students. It's not about me. This program has been running, I've been in Hudsonville for 23 years, and it was running before I came here. COVID almost killed it, but we powered through and we brought it back, which was really good. But it's really about the time and the planning and the efforts that these kids, that the students in the classes take ownership of, and as they go along, their lessons get better. And the parental feedback that I get from the parents on the program is really, really amazing. And every time I hear it, I just say, it's not me, it's them. They're the ones, I just sit and observe and give them feedback while they're doing all the things that they have to do. So it's been a great experience. The kids love it. I'm so glad that we offer this to our students. And hopefully it will continue on. Every year I have people emailing me in October, how do I get my kid into this program? Does anybody have any questions? The program?
I don't have any questions, but I just think it's just an amazing program, not only for those that are going into education possibly, but when you think about life skills and that we're lifelong learners. And I noticed both of the young ladies said, will help me in my future. And even as a parent that eventually has children, what a step up you'll have in understanding that student development, child development is in stages, and to prepare you for taking care of your own little one possibly someday. So yes, thank you very much for facilitating this, giving them a real life opportunity. Thanks for looking at that.
Mandy, do you know what your future plans are? I know Ellie said elementary. Do you have a?
Currently, I do not think I'm going into the education field. My main goal that I want to look at is becoming a labor and delivery nurse.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Love to talk to you.
I appreciate the fact. Yeah, about education. And then Mrs. Bennett, do you have an idea of a percentage of the students that attend this class that do go on for educational careers?
You know, I don't. I don't know. I do know that what little I do know is that kids that I have continued to connect with through social media that I have had in the program. There's several of them who now work for Hudsonville. Minnie Dyke, Megan Fisher, Abby Smith. I'm not sure if Abby Smith, Mrs. Vincent, is she teaching anymore?
Not with us.
Not
but
with
I think
us.
she's in
Okay.
the area.
And I hear from other kids around, and I really emphasize, even when kids start the class, that it's not just about teaching. It's for kids who want to be nurses, who want to be dentists, who want to cut hair, who anybody who's going to work with children is going to benefit from the program.
Thank you.
Yeah, great update. I mean, this is one that kind of flies below the radar, I think, in many ways for us as a board. So this is really fascinating to see and to understand that we're doing this as a district. Something so impactful, both for the kids, the younger kids, and our older students. So thank you for this, and thank you for your participation. Very good.
Both of you have opportunities to have people at home that you can talk to about education. And we also have, I'm sure, not only Mrs. Van Sommer, but I'm sure Mrs. Armstrong and HR is paying close attention to what we're happening for. So not only a great program, but thanks for what you do in your leadership of this. Thanks to the two of you for not only what you do for the littles, but for being here tonight and a very strong presentation for us. So.
Thank you.
And we do have a adjustment to the agenda. So our next item will be the recognition of our retirees. I will say this, after this, you are welcome to, we hope you will stay for all the recognition of the retirees, because we do have a few comments maybe from some board members. Later in the agenda, we'll take action on whether or not we'll allow you to retire. You can trust that process will probably happen regardless if you're here or not. But anyway, understand. So Mrs. Armstrong's going to say a few words. We will ask our administrators, but when you, we ask that you do come up so we can get a picture. We have a small token that Mrs. Armstrong will talk about in a minute. And she has the order, and I will not steal her thunder. So Mrs. Armstrong.
Okay, thank you. So tonight we have 7 buildings that are going to be talking about amazing staff members that will be retiring. We have coaches, club leaders, members of the fine arts, core teachers at the secondary level, elementary teachers, over 330 years of combined experience. There are parents of our students, there are neighbors, there are colleagues. It's going to be another sad time of year, but really exciting for them. So we have 13 certified staff members that are going to be retiring, and June will be their last, time here as a, well, you know what, with the new law, maybe I'll come back. Anyway, so the majority of them are here tonight, which is really great, and those that can't have really great excuses. And I also see some beautiful family members here as well, and some colleagues and friends of support. So thank you so much for coming and honoring your loved ones. So first, I'm going to have Mr. Mark Hegel come up from South and talk about his retiree.
Good evening, board. I have the privilege to honor Celeste Hookema, who couldn't be here this evening, but she doesn't get out of the. She'll see this sooner or later. I've learned this before. Celeste is really, the phrase, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Sometimes you think that works as a person who is looking for a job, but in this case, it worked for me as I was looking for a teacher. So connections come around. And so Celeste was actually in Nevada, and she was getting ready to move back closer to some family members. And one of my colleagues from my previous district gave me a call and said, hey, Mark, I don't know if you need anybody in your building or not, but you might want to pay attention to this candidate. And, as the story goes, did interviewing and hired her in. She, if you remember, I was talking a different vernacular. So South 1, if you remember South 1, she started with us there on the very end of the hallway. And I will still never forget being in her classroom as she was still new to Hudsonville. And one of the livestock got loose out of an organization kind of close to Chicago Drive and 32nd and was running around our playground in the back, which was adjacent to the high school parking lot at that time. And I still remember because we made her bounce to a couple different grade levels, and one of her kids, do you see that goat out there? And so here she is, almost brand new, trying to explain the difference between a goat and a cow. And she was able to do that. And I think her kids believe her more than me. But Celeste has been a great person to have, just very even keel. We've been fortunate at South to have the same second grade crew team for quite a long time. And there's something to be said when your two teammates are crying every week when last things are coming up because you've had that much impact on them. And that's Celeste. So again, as Ann said, we're always thankful that they get the opportunity to go and to start a new chapter in their life. But she has moved from South 1 to South 2 to South 3 and spent 14 years with us all at South with previous experience in other districts. And she's just a fantastic person on top of a great teacher.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to have Melanie McClure come up here and talk about a retiree from the 5-6 building.
I get the honor of recognizing Patty Bowens. She's a 5th grade teacher at the 5-6 building, and she's been in education for 25 years. We did joke, unfortunately she couldn't be here tonight, that if she came we'd probably both cry. So it's really good she's not here, so I won't cry for all of you. But that just is a testament. She was on my interview committee when I came back to Michigan, and she just has a heart of gold. She loves her kids and she loves our staff. Like, she will send me texts randomly throughout the week. Hey, did you get to eat lunch today? I'm going to Wendy's, or I'm going here, and she will bring me lunch, and she'll do the same thing for any kid in her classroom. So it's just, she's a great person, and she's going to be dearly missed in our building. It was a very hard decision for her. She loves her job still, and that is amazing. So I know people can get tired at the end of their career, and she is one that her husband kind of pushed her. They want to go and travel, and so she's kind of doing it, I think, for him, but it was really hard. And she still hasn't even announced to our staff that she is retiring. So some people know, some people don't. She wants to go out quietly. So this is the announcement. Anybody from the 5-6 building, here's our announcement. I told her it's going to be out Thursday night. So, but she's definitely going to be dearly missed, and we just love her. So.
Our next retiree is actually in 2 buildings. So I will have Principal Jeremy Broyes come up and talk about Diane Scott. And Diane White can come up too, sorry.
Oh, front and center. This is all about you. You don't get to be off to the side. Good evening, board. So I get to recognize Diane Scott, who is retiring this year. And she started her career in 1995, when she took a position in Comstock Park. She was there for 10 years before being hired in Hudsonville. And in Hudsonville, she first was at Baldwin, where she spent a lot of years. And one of the highlights that she, as I was digging into this with her, one of the highlights there for her was creating the Links general music class for the CI and ASD class. And it says a lot about her that when asked to recognize like what were some of the highlights, like that jumps out of her. And then in fall 2021, she moved to Jamestown, where she had been working with the elementary students both at upper and lower. And when I asked Diane to describe sort of her fondest memories over the course of her career, she described that HBS watching her students shine while performing at concerts, community events, talent shows, musicals, elementary programs, district festivals, state festivals, or the context of the classroom. And that is a large impact when you think about her students going to all those different places and seeing their faces light up and their pride swell when they know that they have soared is the best reward for all the time invested, was her quote. When I think about, two quick things about Dan. When I think about, first of all, anybody who's in education for any amount of time at some point has somebody in their life say, well, that takes a special person, to do what you do. Normally that's, reserved especially for like middle school teachers. That takes a special. When I think about Diane, it's almost next level because she voluntarily goes into a classroom which is brick walled and hard floored, and she brings in 25 students and then voluntarily gives them all drones. And it is awesome. I've sat in there for the entire time, and it is amazing what she is able to do. She is not going to go quietly and spend some time on the beach. Her and her husband Dan have already begun their next adventure, and they have just recently launched an educational tour company called Thornapple Tours, where they are going to be leading experiences all across the country, planning and implementing educational trips and for music groups and ensembles across the country. Very, very cool. So Dan, I just want to say thank you so much for, on behalf of the board and the administration and the staff, but especially the thousands of students, for just filling our classrooms and halls and community events with so much music and joy. And I know that you're going to do amazing things in the future.
Thanks for putting up my kid. And get in here.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay. All right, next we have Mr. Ryan Creek to come up and talk about retirees from Baldwin treatments.
Good evening, board. I think I see two of my retirees in the audience tonight. So I'm going to start with them because they're here. First and foremost, Karen Ware is retiring from Baldwin this year. She has been a science teacher in our middle school for 28 years. So like Jeremy said, it takes a special person. The three of us that are going to speak tonight. It is a special job. And Karen Ware has been one of those people in our building that is go with the flow. You can ask her to do anything. She's providing experiences for our kids all the time. The other day I was walking down the hallway and I was like, where are they going? And kids were just in the gym setting up like little tape things, and they were running and practicing acceleration, but always up and moving around and getting our kids engaged. One of the highlights that I remember, will always remember, is the derby car races and the kids doing all of that work. And just your positive energy and your enthusiasm is going to be dearly missed. All the trips that you used to plan and help us organize for end of year and celebrating our 8th graders, I wish you the absolute best. Enjoying your time as a grandmother, and we will miss you dearly. We've been doing this like countdown thing, so every morning I forget, so I ask the retirees, how many days do we have left? I need to know how many more days for evals and all that. Next up from Baldwin, Jody Van Zalen is here tonight. Jody has been a counselor at Baldwin for the last 17 years. But prior to serving as a counselor at Baldwin, she spent 5 years teaching Spanish at the high school, 2 years as a counselor at the high school, and years elsewhere in another district as well. I think about like my work and my life, my family life, and I have my wife and my family. But when I think about my right-hand person at work, it is Jody Van Zalen. When I think about the tasks, the things that we do behind the scenes that often go unnoticed and forgotten, because like this time of year we're digging into schedules and nobody thinks about that until August when all the kids get them. But it takes hours and hours of work. Anytime there's that behind the scenes type of work, we can count on Jody to not only take charge of it, but also to just leave. Like she's leaving, and I'm nervous as heck about what that's going to look like. But I feel confident that she's left us with systems and strategies to be able to continue on serving students at Baldwin with just everything that she has left behind. Jody has done so many things for our district. She helped me this morning and gave me like sticky note after sticky note. So I'm just going to summarize in that there's so many things. To sit here and list them, it just doesn't even do it justice. You have not only been there to support students emotionally, supported colleagues emotionally, you are a sounding board to almost all of our staff. If they have questions, concerns, they start with you, and then they know how to come talk to me about it. So just all the things. She used to run a leadership camp for our students at Baldwin, has done countless other clubs and activities, led a student trip to Spain, so many things. The list goes on. So I don't know how else to say it. I'm a little nervous how we're going to do it without you. You will be dearly missed, and I am so glad I have about 6 more weeks left to pick your brain. Yeah. Okay, and I guess the last two, since they're not here, I will keep my comments brief. Nancy Pirlo is another teacher retiring from Baldwin Street Middle School. She has spent 34 years teaching math in our building. Obviously a building prior to that too. And just an incredible person. It has been so cool. My 3 years at Baldwin have been their daughter Camille's 3 years at Baldwin as well. So it's just a really cool story to see their daughter Camille walk the halls for the last time with mom. Nancy has poured her heart and soul into our math department, has done so many things for so many people. Kids love her. They no doubt learn math and will be dearly missed in our staff. So congratulations to Nancy, who could not be here tonight.
Awesome. Thanks. All right. Thank you. All right. Next up is Bill Ross from Riley Street Middle School.
On his way up here, I will say that we have a small token so that others know. It's a bowl that on the bottom it says Hudsonville Public Schools, and then it has your name on it. So if you do leave it at an event, they know who to get back to.
Good evening, Dr. Hooper, members of the board. It's a pleasure to speak to you about Kevin Schur tonight. I'm not sure how many educators you know that can teach kids about the Silk Road and show them how to perform a proper backhand on the same day. Kevin Schur can do that. I'm not sure how many educators you know that can teach students during the day, maybe a Friday, about the explicit trade routes in the classical age, but also call blitz on Friday night against Rockford. Kevin Schur can do that, and did that. There's only one Kevin Schur. We talk about 3 and 4 sport athletes. This is a 4-sport coach at the middle school level, at the high school level for almost 3 decades in this district. And if we kept track of contact with students, if we kept a record book in Hudsonville, Kevin Sure has had contact with thousands or maybe even tens of thousands of students in this district. What I appreciate about Kevin, he understands that balance in the classroom of discipline, strong lesson planning, and relationships with kids. And that really transfers into his coaching as well. There's only one Kevin Sure, and this district is losing a giant amongst our teaching ranks and our coaching ranks. Kevin has really just been a person of impact in our district, in the classroom, on the tennis courts, and definitely inside of Eagle Stadium. If you've ever watched his defenses play, back in the 2000s and again earlier in this decade for many years. We want to thank Kevin for his 3 decades of service to the students, the staff, and his colleagues at Riley and Baldwin and throughout Hudsonville Public Schools. So Kevin, congratulations, job well done.
Thank you.
All right, our last building that has all the rest is the high school. So Principal will be discussing our 6 retirees from the high school.
Normally I like to just speak off the cuff from the heart because it's better, but with 6 of you, I had to write some things down. Thank you for allowing me the privilege to honor these retirees from the high school tonight. Several of them were teachers that I had, so before we get started on the first few, I think there's maybe a couple that aren't here tonight, but we're still going to talk about all 6. I have a hard time calling many of them by their first name. I think if Andrew were here, I know Nick probably has the same thing when you're in the building. It doesn't matter that we're colleagues now and we work together. It's still Mr. or Mrs., and that's just how it is. And I try to get over that, but it's hard, so I'm going to do that my best here tonight. We're going to start, since she's closest to me, and you got to hear a little bit about already and steal some of my thunder about talking about the child development and early childhood ed programs. I'll start with Ange Bennett, so come on up, Ange. Ange and I have had a great time working together, at least I think so, the last 6 years. We've gotten to connect a lot over FCS budgets. Specifically, it's a lot of fun to talk about needing to buy new robot babies for the early childhood education class. They are not cheap by any means, but we kind of joke that if it stops a student from making a poor choice, it's worth every single penny. So we're doing a good job trying to keep those working for the kids, because if you've seen students walking around with them, they may be a little annoying, but that's kind of the point. And so Ange and I have gotten to connect on some of that, but also I really appreciate her leadership of the FCS department. She's been the department chair, I don't know for how many years, I'm sorry, but it's great to stop into her culinary lab. For those of you that know the high school campus and the North Campus now, as it's called, it's kind of a focal point as you're walking down the main kind of area of the campus, just by the Fine Arts Center. And when you smell, especially chili cook-off day, I'm going to miss going in there and seeing Ange or seeing what the kids are cooking, because it's always been great. So thank you, Ange, so much for all that you've done for Hudsonville High School. I'm going to miss you a lot. I feel like I'm saying that a lot to all 6 of these retirees. It's not going to be the same without you, and I wish you all the best in retirement. How about Mrs. Webster next? I never had you in class, but I still call you Mrs. Webster. Come on up. It's going to be a hard one, too. I'm going to miss Mrs. Webster a lot. I feel like I've got to know you well the last 6 years, I hope. She's wearing her shirt today, I have to point out, because it was the AP Environmental Science test today. For the last time, to give her a round of applause. I don't understand the shirt, because it's something about Ninjago.
It's this coal, apparently from Ninjago.
Yeah, I
Not
don't
my
get it.
choice.
Yeah, we let the students pick. There's probably a student that would know what it
Our
means.
precious resource, you know, having this little home is our precious.
So if you have students that have AP classes this week and next week are when testing is, it's a big deal. But one of the fun things is that each class designs their own shirt. This is the one, but I had to point that out today because it was the last time you got to bring them snacks and pump them up before you went in. So Mrs. Webster's done a great job building that program. AP Environmental Science is very popular, so much so that we've added sections since my time started here. And also she runs a green team. So it's kids that are willing to get their hands dirty, put on gloves, and go sift through recyclable materials, throw away the trash, and make sure that recycling is happening on a consistent basis. And there's a lot of kids that are involved in that program. Thanks to Mrs. Webster. It's a kind of a community in there. Students really kind of feel a part of something, and they're doing something good for the environment, but also for the school. And we're going to miss her leadership in that role as well. I have a freshman coming up, and he even went over to the table, and I was like, all right, do green team. So we're going to miss your leadership there. I have to also point out, and we did talk about this board, about the eclipse. It was because of her generosity and connecting with her relative that we were able to take our group and use their backyard that was kind of under construction, and we got to bring all those students there and just create that experience for them. So that's kind of what the science department does, which I get to talk about another science department member here soon. And just Christine is going to be so missed, and thank you for everything you've done. And I've just loved getting to know you these last 6 years. I'm going to miss you.
Will you still send us cool pictures? Oh, good.
How about Mrs. Tenbrock next? Come on up. Kelly Tenbrock teaches computer science. There you go. You don't have a walk-up song. As you can tell, Kelly brings a lot of fun and humor to the school, and especially to her hallway. Most importantly, she has built a computer science program, really. I mean, I don't know what it was before you kind of took it over and grew it, but kind of from like keyboarding days now to students coding, doing cybersecurity classes, app development, coding robots, and it just, we've had so much fun kind of connecting through that. It was my minor, and so when I go into their class to maybe do observations, I can actually understand a little bit about what's going on. The kids are far more advanced than
One of the only people in the school.
Yes. Right. We have a little bit of knowledge of what that looks like, but and she has a great sense of humor and a little bit self-deprecating lately about her retirement, but it's not easy to find computer science teachers these days. I can tell you that much, because if you're going into it, a lot of times you're working in that field, not necessarily teaching it. But that's something that I really think Kelly should be commended for, because she's a math teacher prior, and really kind of took this on with growing something from nothing. And now, I mean, you haven't taught a math class in a while, and the courses are just so popular. She makes the curriculum more accessible for students. The thing that I really appreciate about her is if she doesn't know something, she goes and figures it out and learns alongside the students, because honestly, some of the students that you've had just fly with this, and they go to prestigious universities. Even Jane over there is considering that at University of Michigan, largely because of being exposed to that curriculum in Kelly's classes. So you might catch Kelly in her retirement at Van Andel. I don't know if you're going to do that a lot, but I know that you'd see her if you go to Europe, or if she's a world traveler. Where are you going this summer?
Spain and Portugal
Spain,
and Morocco.
No big deal.
We're taking 40 students to Spain and Portugal.
Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. So I know she'll be spending her time wisely, and I'll be jealous of all the awesome places she goes. But I'm going to miss you. We have a lot of fun together, and it's been great. And I wish you all the best.
Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Jordan. Stand Yeah, I can't say Greg. Doesn't that sound weird? Yeah. A little bit. I had Mr. Jordan for 2 of my science classes in high school. We've had some great memories. You're even in the same classroom that you were when I was a student. And so it's pretty nostalgic if I go in there for an observation or just stopping in. I know kind of what seat or what area of the room I was in. It's a little bit surreal to sit there and be in Mr. Jordan's class. But I had him for, again, two of my science classes. I didn't fail one and have to repeat it. But yeah, he made science and does continue to make his curriculum more engaging. He brings passion. When I think about Mr. Jordan, I think about the formaldehyde smell down the science hallway and looking at him and saying, it smells like learning. And that's something that he just kind of, that echoes through the hallway there. You know, keeping summer science going for a while. And something that he and I have talked about before, and I know he's proud of, and I have to mention, is we're about to do a senior honors night next Monday. One of the things that I noticed right away when I came here as principal, came back here 6 years ago, is that a disproportionate number of our honors students, when we're reading through and saying what they're going to pursue in college, want to pursue something in science. And it really is kind of noticeable. In fact, a board member who's not here tonight would be an example of what I'm talking about. And that's something that he was kind of keeping track of, and something I think the science department takes a lot of pride in. He's been the department chair for several years, and under his leadership, the popularity of science courses continues to be very high. A lot of that is students really wanting to get into the summer science program. I know that's part of it, but also just the engaging nature and passion that he and his department bring. He also is a staple at the sporting events, and I'm going to say it because she's here too, Mrs. Jordan. He met her in the gym, and just seeing them together on the sidelines is like, it's just part of what it means to be at a Hudsonville sporting event. I mean, you see the same people, they're part of a community and part of a family. And I'm really going to miss Greg. Still can't do it. I'm going to miss Mr. Jordan. And it's not going to be the same without him. And I hope he isn't a stranger, and I appreciate you, and it's been great to get to work with you. So I'm going to miss you. I'm not sure if I saw Mr. Keegan here or not, but he is next. I thought he might be here, but I'll say a few things quickly about John. Again, feels weird. He was a teacher when I was there also, but I did drop his class after 2 days. So we're going to have a laugh about that tonight, because we've never actually talked about that.
That's why he's not here.
That's why he's not here. See, it's all my fault. No, he taught debate, and my friends were in drama class the same hour, and I thought, man, drama looks like a lot more fun. So I did. I think he would say that I made the right choice, because I had a lot of fun in drama. I like being on stage. But John has been a constant presence in the English department for a long time. It's been enjoyable to get to connect with him and get to know him as a colleague instead of just Mr. Keegan, the teacher whose class I dropped. And we've connected over music. I know he enjoys travel, and hopefully he has a lot more time in his retirement to spend with his loved ones and go to some concerts. We've connected about some of the cool concerts he went to back when, before I was able to go to concerts. But he's going to be really missed in that hallway up in the English department. I see Mike Anderson back there nodding. So John will be sorely missed, and of course we wish him all the best in retirement. So John Keegan. And lastly, he would very much enjoy being here, I think, is Mike Signori. Again, someone who I call Mr. Signori or Sig. He was my teacher for math, and I think like maybe a couple of people, I didn't even mention this, but I know many of you know, board and people in the audience, that my father hired Mr. Signori and potentially some of the other retirees here tonight too. So it's really special that I get to be here to kind of talk quickly about Mike, even though he's not here. He was a teacher who inspired me to be a teacher, just like Mr. Jordan. A lot of people assume that because my parents were educators, I would be a teacher. The truth is I had awesome teachers when I was here. It's not necessarily because my parents, they might have told me to do something else, but I want to make a difference the way that they did. And Mike Signori is one of those as well. So I could go on about him, but that's the last one, and he's not here, so I'll say more to him in front of everybody else. So Mike Signori, I'm going to miss him too. Six.
Any statements from the board for our retirees that are here?
Oh, man, so many of the high school teachers retiring had an influence on my daughters. And Mr. Sagan wish he was here because we had many a dinner conversation that was, he was the catalyst for some discussions about bigger things in life. And it really helped my high school students understand that there's more in the bigger picture of life. And when you say you believe something or want to do something, what does that really mean? Did you take that to yourself, or is it someone else's idea? And I laugh because there are things that my daughters would come home with, and I'd be like, what? And as I heard them talking about it, I realized that he was really trying to make them into lifelong learners that just didn't follow everybody else's steps. And I really appreciate that about Sig. Greg and Mary, you guys are just who Hudsonville is. And Greg, thank you for being the person sitting next to Dwight a couple times, a couple years.
We spent a lot of time.
You did. Yes, you did, for better or for worse, as we say. Yes, so thank you for everything you guys have contributed. I know it's Greg's special night, but Mary, you're part of that as well, and we will miss you very much so. And Ange and Kelly, I hope you have replacements for Dwight to keep him in line this next year and for all the fun that you guys have. And I appreciate the friendship that you've given to him and the opportunities we've had just to see each other occasionally informally. And we will miss you as well. And for all the other teachers that have been here for so long, you are part of what makes Hudsonville great. And I know a lot of the younger teachers are learning or had learned from you. But it will be very hard to think of you not being part of Hudsonville. But please don't be strangers. I'm sure they would love to have you come and be subs. So please do so.
Andrew sent me quite a lengthy thing to read. Basically wrote something for almost every teacher. I will not do it justice. I mean, it's really heartfelt. So I'm going to suggest he reach out to most of you individually. I mean, it's pretty special what he wrote. Many of you made a pretty significant impact on his life, and I want to do it justice there. But I had many of you as teachers. Many of you worked with my mom, my wife. You've made a significant impact on our family, and I think as a dad of a high schooler and a middle schooler, several of you have taught my kids. That's probably where it makes me most emotional. Thinking as a dad and thinking that my kids get to have you, that's a Hudsonville thing. And it's not so much who you are as educators. I mean, you're brilliant educators, but it's who you are as people. And that's a special thing that we have. And so the conversations we've had around the dinner table about things that you've said in class and how you've modeled behavior and all that, we're indebted. And I didn't want to make it sound like sad, like, it's just like a celebration. Like this is a really cool thing that we got 20, 30 years of you making impacts on thousands of lives. And it's incredible to really be a part of this and have had you all. So thank you all very much.
My wife, Cynthia, has taught school with a number of you. And she wanted to see the agenda for tonight so she could see who was retiring. And we're delighted for you in your retirement, but we're very sad for us because you take with you a treasure of experience and knowledge. We will find new teachers, but you represent something which is very, very important to us, and we're very sad to see you go, but we wish you the best in your retirement.
I think we had a perfect example here of the impact that all of the teachers can have on individuals. We've got the high school principal, Jordan, who has had several of you as teachers. And then you look at what's happened to him and how he's now assumed a position of leadership a lot of which, by his own testimony, is because of the things that you taught him along the way. And then one last thing I want to say is, I really am quite concerned, Ann, about Ryan losing Jody. So maybe we need to get him some special counseling. Moving forward, because-
have her on retainer, don't worry.
Okay, good, excellent.
She's on the favorites list, right?
I just wanted to say thank you to all of you.
Congratulations, thanks to all of you. I mean, so many of you have touched so many of my kids' lives and my life as well through discussions and parent-teacher conferences and whatever, what have you. So much of it has already been said already, but you are frequent guests. You have been frequent guests around our dinner table as well. And when you have that kind of impact on people, it's truly a treasure. And we respect all of you. We appreciate all of you so much. We will treasure you going forward. Please don't be strangers. You will always be part of the Hudsonville family and always welcome back. And we look forward to seeing, hopefully seeing you at sporting events or in school or wherever the case may be. We appreciate you. And you have made, we talk about buildings, we talk about, but it's really the people. And you have been the heart and the soul of this district, and we thank you for that so much.
I totally agree with what everyone has said. We have been so fortunate to have all of you in the district, and it is the people in the buildings. It's not the buildings, it's the people in the buildings. I wish you the best in retirement. You have to retire with a purpose, and you have to keep moving, because if you don't, bad things happen. So when you retire, it sounds like many of you have great plans. Keep it going.
You know, as my 6th year here in Hudsonville, a lot of you over the years when we see people retire, you have people that you've seen classrooms for a year or two. I feel like losing friends too. I appreciate what you've done for not only myself, the rest of the administrative team, your colleagues who are here. A lot of them are here to support you. Many of them are just jealous that you're there. But don't be strangers, and please know that. I know many of you tolerate's a little strong. You got to experience my son when he went through school at all different levels, and I just appreciate what you do for our kids. It means a lot. Having said that, you can go. No, so you're welcome to stay, but now that we're move on to business items and so forth. Again, thanks again for being here. Anybody that wants to take a stay, the rest of you, have a wonderful night.
Uncomfortably, yeah.
See you tomorrow.
You have a t-shirt
Yeah, there you go.
You can also
There's probably nothing else.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
So we can go, okay?
All right, next up, we have recognition of visitors and hearing of people present.
Jill Bosniak.
I can't get the screen to work, so I'm just gonna turn this around.
Okay.
So Why don't you start?
This week is Teacher Appreciation Week. To any teachers still here today, thank you for all you do. I recognize that your job description has grown over the years. You're no longer just a teacher, but a mentor, a listener, a fixer of problems, amongst all the other things that you do. Thank you for being the superheroes in the classroom and taking on those roles. To the administrative staff, thank you for all you do. We celebrated you on April 24th and appreciate all you do behind the scenes, from one admin to another. To the principals, we celebrated you on May 1st during Principal Appreciation Day. Thank you for all you do to oversee the school's academic goals and ensure the teachers have the equipment and resources that are needed to meet those goals. We admire and appreciate your leadership. And to the board, we'll celebrate you in January during the School Board Recognition Month. As mentioned, principals, who are the leaders of the schools, oversee the needs of teachers and academic goals. I was dumbfounded in the April 22nd Board of Education work session where Dr. Hooper, the president and leader of the board, stopped the discussion around goals, stating, quote, "We are not going to continue. Feel free to send me your goals. If you want to send me a goal, send me a goal. If you don't, you don't." That is the opposite of how a leader should act. The Bauer Elementary Weekly Newsletter had a message from Mr. Mearsma, adapted from the Daily Coach. Hopefully this will clarify the importance of leadership from one leader to another. It said, "The job of any leader is to push people beyond their limits. To lead is to make others better. No leader accepts his or her role with the idea of making the path of least resistance. And when a leader pushes, there's always resentment, always pushback, because we as humans don't like being pushed towards the best version of ourselves. We are happy to find comfort. Dr. Hooper, you are not in a position of comfort. The SOAR 5 survey results may be a year old, but you have not led this board in a way that has bridged the gap in the community's confidence. You don't have the leisure to sit back and not take on any goals. Since the president and leader of the Board of Education won't ask, I ask all the board members to create your own personal goals to support teachers. Teachers deserve to have an environment where they feel supported. They are going above and beyond on a daily basis with these new roles as the new expectations. Find ways to support them. If our current president and leader will not ask this of you, please consider it from a very involved and dedicated school supporter. Apparently, under this leadership, it will not happen. Dr. Hooper, I again ask you to step down from president since you do not understand what your role entails as a leader. Thank you.
All right, next up we have our consent agenda. So we have the following resolution as proposed. Resolved that the board approve the consent agenda action items as presented.
Some of that.
Movement from Mark, support from, is it Dawn?
Yes.
All right, are there any questions on the consent agenda? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next up, regular action agenda. First up is our Bauer and Early Childhood Center furniture bid recommendations with Mr. Patrick's.
Thank you. Do you want to grab a mic? I just hold on to it. Sorry. Thank you. I can hold it if you want.
As always. So thank you. The recommendation was covered in more detail at the work session. I want to thank the team members who actually met again today to pick out finishes and colors. They worked on a really compressed schedule and they came prepared. The team from GMB and OAK did a great job. Lee Arntz, who's on our team, did a fantastic job guiding us through this as well. But this, I think we've really concluded a great process. It really is testament to the processes we have involved with selection, and we're asking for your approval tonight to move forward with purchasing furniture for the addition portion of Bauer, as well as the renovation portion of the Early Childhood Center. And yeah, that's the highlights.
All right, so we have the following resolution as proposed. Resolved that the board approve the recommendation to award contract for new furnishings for Bauer and the Early Childhood Center for a total amount of $376,286 as presented by Patrick Briggs the Assistant Superintendent of Business and Finance.
So moved.
Movement from Dawn,
Support.
support from Nick. Any questions for Pat?
Still no issues on delivery or delivery, all that, we talked about this at the work session, but still no change on timing and delivery and so forth, no issues there.
I am sure there will be some. Confident there will be some, but yes. They're fantastic suppliers. We picked based on that, and yeah, there will be some. Yes, but the timing that we have before we go into the fall, under even abnormal circumstances, we should be fine.
Okay, that's really my question, so thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next up is our Chromebook and pre-kindergarten iPad purchase recommendation. Again, Pat.
Thank you. Again, this was reviewed in a lot more detail at the work session, but we're on a, now that we're a 1-to-1 district, we have a refresh schedule for Chromebooks for students entering the 6th grade, but actually entering the 5th grade and the 9th grade. So that's the Chromebook piece, and then every 7 years or so, we upgrade the iPads for the really pre-K, for the pre-K and kindergarten students.
Okay, so we have the following resolution is proposed. Resolved that the board approve a purchase recommendation to purchase 1,550 HP Chromebooks through HP Inc., 1,550 Google licenses from CHE, and 220 Apple iPads from Apple for a total amount of $513,449 as presented by Patrick Griggs, Assistant Superintendent of Business and Finance.
I'll move that.
Movement from Mark,
I'll support.
support from Nick. Any questions for Pat? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Next up is our high school social studies course approval with Miss Amy Taylor.
Yeah, so we had the opportunity at our work session to discuss and review the social studies courses at the high school. There's only 3 courses. I think this is the particular content area that we were able to find the most record of, dating all the way back to 1979, some course approvals, but we're just trying to get up to speed and ensure that our records are aligned with our board policy. So the 3 courses that then with your approval this evening would be added with today's date for official approval.
All right, so we have the following resolution is proposed. Resolved that the board approve the current high school social studies courses as presented by Amy Taylor, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction.
So moved.
Movement from Dawn,
I support that.
support from Nick. Any questions for Amy? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's approved. Next up, we have our second reading of our board policy revision, 0144.2 board ethics.
So we had this review in a work session about 6 weeks ago, and then a first reading last month with no suggested changes. The request is to approve a second reading for this policy to put it into place, which adds item N, which then matches the code of conduct for the Board of Education.
All right, so we have the following resolution is proposed. Resolved that the board approve the second and final reading of a revision to board policy 0144.2 board ethics as presented by Dr. Vanderjagt.
So moved.
Movement from Ken,
Support.
support from Dawn. All in favor say aye. Any questions for Dr. Vanderjagt? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right. Next up, Ottawa Area Intermediate School District Budget Resolution. Dr. Vanderjagt.
Every year, the Ottawa Area Intermediate School District releases their budget to us for the this one's for the 24-25 school year. The budget is just over $36 million, ends with about a 10% fund balance, which is standard.
So the request for the board to approve a resolution to approve their budget for next year.
All right, the following resolution is proposed. Resolved that the board approve the resolution to approve the ISD General Fund operating budget for the 2024-2025 school year as presented by Dr. Vanderjagt.
I'll move that.
Movement by Mark,
I'll support that.
support from Nick. Questions for Dr. Vanderjagt on the budget?
Don't make it too hard, because I did not create this budget.
Yeah. Pat and Doug, I would
Yes.
assume basic, saying nothing too outstanding from what I could see.
Yeah, the biggest change in their budget from last year to this is the allocation of some grant dollars that have been shifted, similar to some of the work we've been doing as a district. So I would say very, not standard year to year, but standard district to district with the rest of the.
They used to run about a 40% fund balance. What's it?
Other funds.
Yeah. Different how they.
I'm not saying that.
put in there.
No,
I'm not saying they
this
should.
is
I'm
this is
saying
just their,
they could.
this is just their general fund.
General.
Just general.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we only take X now.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. Next up, we have 2 human resource items.
Yes, so every year I always have a challenge. You know, there's somebody that retires or resigns, and it's going to be a challenge this year. I bet you from the retirements you could have guessed the 2 biggest challenges, FCS and computer science. So we're doing well so far, but my first recommendation to the board is a really amazing young woman coming out of Greeley, Colorado. It's a WMU graduate, so wants to come back home, grew up in Saline, Michigan. Her name is Chloe Bellinger. She is not here, she's finishing her year in Greeley. And, but she is, you know, Dr. Vanderjagt and I always joke around, it only takes one. And she is a fantastic find. We're very excited. The department's very excited. So I am bringing Chloe Bellinger in recommendation for family consumer science at the high school. And then the next recommendation to the board tonight is just awesome. As you know, the state of Michigan has done, has put monies into programs to grow your own. Alternative methods to get your teaching certificate. Well, we have a staff member that is a parent of a Jamestown student, and her name is Grace Kim, and she started off just as a parent, then she became a parapro for us in special ed, and then she switched over as a parapro for EL. And unbeknownst to us, as I send things out to staff about Talent Together and West Michigan's consortium, she signed up to do Talent Together, an alternative method to get her teaching degree. And she can't be here tonight because she's actually finishing some classes that she has to do through that program. But in the last year, Grace has done a internship. It's an apprenticeship through the Department of Labor and Talent Together with Sarah Van Meeren, who is an EL teacher in our district. And she had a bachelor's already that she earned in South Korea. And she has now earned her teaching certificate. And we are very excited to partner with Talent Together and just continue to support her and hire her as a teacher here at Hudsonville in English learning. So I'm really excited to recommend Grace Kim as a potential hire. So those are my 2.
Okay. So we have that the following resolution is proposed. Resolved that the board approve the following human resource items as presented by Ann Armstrong, the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. 2 certified hires, Chloe Bellinger and Grace Young.
So moved.
Movement from Dawn.
Support.
Support from Ken. Any questions for Ann?
Nice work, too, really. I mean, we love all our teachers.
Right.
But some extraordinary circumstances here.
Yeah,
So thank
we
you
will have
for-
consumers
thank you for
or
driving those
computer
to
science
that.
next. Yeah.
And hopefully we'll get to meet them hopefully in August.
Yeah, absolutely you will. And you could probably swing by South Elementary to meet Grace at any time.
It's great to see the program that was put in place a couple years ago in the legislation to see it actually bear fruit, exactly, and to see this happen, because I think the potential out there is amazing for people who want to be committed to education, leave the business world, and take a shot at helping kids.
Yeah, and I don't know about Dr. Vanderjack or Amy or Mandy or even Pat, but a lot of the program, like ISD meetings I go to, both in Kent and Ottawa County, Talent Together will present, and they've used Grace as an example in their presentations, and then I'm like, hi.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Thanks, Amy.
Right, any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next up is our collective bargaining language approval. Again, Ann.
Yes, I'm very excited or happy to bring this to the board. As you know, that the legislature made some drastic changes into in school code law over the past year, and due to that, some items that were not allowed to be collectively bargained are now allowable. So we opened up the contract for these very specific law changes. And I just really want to say a big thank you for the great work that Rebecca Skipper and Brad Naderveld did on this as well as I just want to thank the principal team for letting me run, scenarios by them. And this is a big lift, and I'm excited for how it's going to support our teachers moving forward.
All right, so we have the following resolution is proposed. Resolved that the board approve the recommendation of language to the HE agreement that was discussed at the April work session as presented by Ann Armstrong, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
I'll move that.
Movement from Nick.
Support.
Support from Dawn. Any questions for Ann?
Again, thank you to the HEA, to you and to the principals, as you said. I mean, so much work into this. It always is, but then based on the legislative changes, as you mentioned, that went into that. And a lot of work that goes into it, but then that's built on a relationship, on relationships of trust that are built over years, right? That again, all the folks that you mentioned, Dr. Vanderjack, have built and established. And without that foundation of trust, we don't get here. So thank you for that foundation, laying that and doing that. And then all the work to get to this contract and true up all that language. Just very fine work. We really appreciate everybody's effort on that. And we really appreciate the partnership with each year.
Any other questions for Ann? Right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next up is a tough one. Retirements.
Yeah, so I want to thank Ann Armstrong for all the work, not only with the hires that are taking place, but retirement's always a challenging time. To see people go that have made just an impact on our community, on our schools. So I'm not going to get too deep. Over 330 years of experience with thousands of kids. So the recommendation tonight for the board to approve the retirees as stated in your packet, so that these people, they still have to finish the year, but to accept those retirements.
All right, so we have the following resolution is proposed that resolve that the board approve and recognize the following certified staff hires. They were all presented earlier in the evening.
Somebody's going to have to make
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll move that.
Movement from Nick.
A reluctant second.
Support from Ken. All right. Any questions for Dr. Vanderjack or Anna, please? We will be missed. All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Motion passes. Next up, we're going to go to our report items.
Let's start with Jane.
Okay, hello everybody. It's only fitting that I'm wearing my Michigan sweatshirt for my last meeting with you guys. Okay, so, some student council updates. We had a meeting this past Tuesday, and it was our seniors' last meeting. So every year we do a little senior send-off where all of our new student council members, besides freshmen, come, and because every year you have to rerun, so some faces change, new kids get opportunities, so we have the seniors just kind of say their college that they're planning or their plans, the committee and leadership positions, so it's just kind of a cool way for the new incoming rookies to see the veterans. So yeah, and then they have one more meeting, I think.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. To just start looking at new committees already for homecoming for next year. So it's crazy how quick time goes by, and then they're going to be talking about some summer meetings too for August or early August and late July. So this past Friday we had a teacher luncheon catered by Olive Garden. One of our student council members, who's actually my future roommate, has a connection there. She works there, so saved us some money, and just nice to do something nice for our teachers, for teacher appreciation. Our spirit committee hung up the senior graduation caps with everyone's name and plans. It's right when you walk into the school, so that's always cool to see and walk by and look at, right next to the slideshow that's playing with all the senior decisions. So it's just a good, bittersweet atmosphere at HHS. Saturday morning we have our riverbank run, bright and early, so we have enough volunteers for our own aid station too. So it's just going to be student council aid station, so that's exciting. And then that's all I have for my update, but I also did want to close with a thank you to you all. It has been such a blessing and such an awesome position for me to be here, and I've actually learned that I really like budgets and listening. It's so interesting. I'm serious. It really interests me, and I love hearing all the behind the scenes, and I feel like I've got the in, you know. So I'm very glad. I know I kind of try to be lighthearted, but I do know what a great opportunity this is, and I'm very honored to be able to be here. And just thank you guys for always laughing at my jokes. So, and I know Paxton's gonna be great. Yeah. So thank you guys, and I've had a great time. So, if you have any questions.
We will miss you. Welcome, Paxton, but we will miss you. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
Great
Thank
job.
you.
Yes.
I think they're always bringing a smile and the occasional joke.
Can we count on you for jokes?
Terrible puns.
All right. I'll get used to
We'll
it.
shake
All
it
right.
up a little bit.
Thank you so much, James. Blast having you up here.
Next, we have an update from Superintendent Samra and Untitled Chapter.
I moved around on you a minute. I had to find a microphone. I really don't want to follow that because you did a beautiful job of saying goodbye. The early childhood building is very busy right now. We're wrapping up a lot of programs. We have a number of students that will be done with school next Thursday and Friday already. It always changes the tone of the building. We have the pleasure of some construction that is coming, and so exciting to be a part of that conversation and the spaces. We've got 2 classrooms that will come open at some point next year, pending timeframes, and then a really neat indoor motor and movement space. And when it opens, I'm hopeful that you guys can come and visit. And then a new cafeteria, because we are living in the old, I think, choir room / and it works wonderful, but we're really excited to be connected to the kitchen actually. But no, we're doing great. Thank you.
A lot can happen with littles walking across the hall from the kitchen to the cafeteria.
Yes, Lori, our lunch staff, does an excellent job of moving food from one space to another, and I'm just really excited that she can have some efficiency. But she has never complained once. She does a great job at it. So. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next up, an update from Mr. Hegel at South. South 3, as he would say.
All right, I brought my notes because I talk a lot, so I'm going to stay on script. I do worry a little, Ann, that we got some NIL issues with Grace Kim now, that her name is like... I know, right? So, not sure, boy, if you're ready for NIL. Grace Kim has been in our building for I think a couple of years at this point, even though she's been in different places, and she is just, again, a phenomenal person. You know, when you think of like an EL Parapro, whatever clicks in your head, like multiply that to the 10th degree, and that's Grace. She has the gift of a second language, well, primary language, not being English. And so when we have growing population of families coming to us from South Korea, she just speaks their language, understands the culture, and I can't tell you, I guess you're in businesses that you understand that, but for somebody, a family to come in who their kids don't speak our language and they may not speak our language, to be welcomed by someone who does speak their language and even understands their culture, she just extends herself and goes way above what her role is, and she will be phenomenal in teaching role. So anyway, that's part of her NIL. She didn't pay me for that, but she will. I think from an elementary standpoint, M-STEP, we're trying to close those up. We've got about 1 more week left. It's always fun to try to catch the last few kids who have been out sick or absent. We're just talking to Robin. We've had 2 kids in 2 days, not all taking M-STEP, but with getting their appendix removed and not scheduled. So things in the state that they just say, keep testing, and we say, we'll do our best while they're getting their appendix. Thankfully, we did not test any kids in the hospital. Lots of exhibitions of learning going on top of assessment, science fairs, so many different opportunities where kids get to show off their whole years of learning. And sometimes I think at the end of the year, you hear like, it's field day, and that's great, and there's this going on. But to watch our kids celebrate what they've done this year is pretty incredible. And so we have a lot of those things going on. We've celebrated a lot of volunteers. Our Watchdogs program has ended up. We have Volunteer Appreciation Week coming up, just to thank the many, many community members who come into South and all of our buildings on a weekly basis and give up their time because they know it's important. And our kids benefit and our staff benefit from them. Lots of different things changing staff-wise too, as Anne's talked about. So you're mourning the ones who get to leave, and some are leaving to go to different parts of the country and the state, and they're going to do great work. And it just reminds you that the network of Hudsonville Public Schools isn't even just in our community. I think of Jane, she's going to go to Ann Arbor, and she's going to impact other students and professors and people over there. And we have some of our staff members who are going to leave South and continue their careers in different spots. And we're going to be able to see that impact in very different places. And I can't leave without something lighthearted. So principal appreciation, I didn't even know that existed until one of the kids on the morning a couple weeks ago said, Happy Principal Appreciation Day. So thanks. But one of the 4th grade teachers had their students put a book together. 4th grade is a little interesting because they've got some tongue-in-cheek capabilities that you have to be careful. So there was a form that each one of them filled out, and one of them was, what does the principal do on the weekend? So, does math, that was me, goes to Pizza Ranch, and also play video games. So those are the things that our 4th graders believe that I do on the weekend. I will not disclose if any of those are true. But then the best part was, if Mr. Eagle was not a principal, what would he be? Top 2 options, math teacher, construction worker, South 3. I think they get it.
Yeah.
But then some of the more unique opportunities was ice cream man, auto repair, and for anybody who knows me, I can't repair anything. And then finally, with a picture on, a hot dog salesman with a cart in New York.
Thank you, Mr. Hot Dog. Next up, we have an update from Mr. Ross at Riley Street.
Good evening, board. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week, and I think all of us, even as administrators, still recognize ourselves as teachers. So regardless of your title, thank you for what you do for our kids in this district. The importance of a good teacher is just paramount right now. And I want to commend the board for making sure that we hire well and hold us to high standards when we bring teachers into this district. It's extremely important. We've had a chance at Riley to celebrate 40 of the finest teachers this week. I want to thank the parents at Riley Street Middle School. There's an abundance of goodies and snacks, so if you want anything tomorrow, Doug will show you. It's on the second floor, a large room. It's known as our kind of our teacher break room, but it's an abundance of chocolate, calories, and sugar this way. But just thank our community for encouraging our teachers. It's a tough job. It's even tougher to do it well, and I just appreciate our teachers, how well they do their job. I want to thank Dr. Vanderjagt and Mrs. Taylor. I had a family emergency this week, and we needed somebody from the bullpen to come into Riley's Traditional, some former principals. So Dr. Vanderjagt and Mrs. Taylor were able to help us out at Riley on Wednesday. Mr. Bauer, our assistant principal, had an obligation as well, and things went seamlessly. So you guys still have it, and we appreciate you guys stepping up for us yesterday at the middle school. The other thing, I just want to thank our community. We've had a middle school musical for about 12 years now, and this is just something that just brings great joy to me personally, but to our school, our students, and our whole community. So if you had a chance to attend Wizard of Oz, it was a kind of a combined production between the students at Riley and Bauer, the 5-6 building. Two just wonderful shows that were supported by our community. Two staff members I'd like to recognize, Jessica Genema, the director, and Keith Blair, our auditorium manager, just did a wonderful job. We run a first-class show with our middle school kids, and many of them, it's the first time they've had that experience. Just a couple other quick things, we're kind of wrapping up now. We've got a lot going on at Riley as well as at Baldwin as we wrap up the year. Looking forward to our 8th grade recognition programs in June. We have our annual Rocket Day where we celebrate the Civil War. We learn through an interdisciplinary lesson, final concerts, wrapping up testing as well. So I want to thank you for coming out to celebrate our teachers as well on Tuesday, for the board for showing up, for that authentic audience that our kids need throughout the year, and always saying yes to our teachers when they ask you to come by. So thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Ross. I've asked several kids when Rocket Day is, and I heard 37 different responses from tomorrow to 2 months from now. I don't think 2 months is accurate, but it's coming up. Mr. Beal at high school.
Yeah, one of those responses you mentioned was from my son. So I struck that rocket. And if it goes really well, then I'll take some credit. If not, that was Jude's fault. But, I'm excited to see how that works out. You get to hear from me a lot every month. And May is, I feel like I said this to a few people around high school and I know around the district. May can be like simultaneously fantastic and quite a bear at the same time. There's so much going on. But to echo what Mr. Ross said about teacher appreciation, that has been something that's actually been kind of energizing, that we get to celebrate our fantastic educators. We're doing so instead of just cramming everything into 1 week or 1 day, we're kind of spreading it out and doing some things throughout the month of May. So we, to Jane's point, we started off with a half day last week, Olive Garden catered lunch from the student council. This week we've been breaking in our new cafe space. I know when you visited to welcome some teachers in the morning, Mr. Bullheis and Mr. Hall got to have a little sample. Maybe a little too much caffeine in one of those. We can back some of that off and recipe. There's decaf recipes as well, but we're getting that going. It's not fully open just yet. There's still some things that have to be done, but we're having teachers be able to get those drinks in the morning right now. And the assistant principal and I have had a lot of fun, and again, it's energizing to get to serve our fantastic staff in the morning. So that's been a great way to celebrate them to start it off this week. Also, we have AP testing going on. You heard me mention that when we talked about Mrs. Webster's AP Environmental Science students had theirs today. That started this week and goes through next week. So shout out to Mr. Allen, one of our assistant principals at the high school, who coordinates that with Mrs. Heiser, one of our admin assistants. It's a big week for them, making sure all those tests go off smoothly. And some of them are a lot larger than other groups, but they do a great job of organizing that, making sure it's a great environment for students to do as best they can. Hopefully get a lot of 4s and 5s on those AP assessments. So that's a big going on right now at the high school. And then, of course, graduation. Many of you know it's coming up 2 weeks from tonight, which when I say that out loud, gives me a little bit of that anxiety that we were talking about. However, it's going to be so exciting to do it in the new field house and start the tradition there. So Jane, you and your classmates get to be the first ones to walk across the stage there in the new field house. So we're excited to showcase that facility once again with a packed house and really get to kind of make that our tradition and our home for that really fun commencement ceremony to celebrate our seniors and have the community come in and really, it's for you guys. And we're going to be sad to see you done next week. Friday is the last day for seniors. And then graduation, like I said, 2 weeks from tonight. So I think that's all for the high school. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, everybody.
Just a few updates. Real quick, the gymnasium at Bauer Elementary is, and the additional classrooms are very close to completion with inspection coming up soon. If we do get inspection and we can work things out, we might be able to use the gym to finish out the year for the kids, because there's always that transition from cafeteria to gym and back and forth, so separate, which would be great. And then that, quite frankly, leaves us with Park Elementary, and their gym should be ready to go to start the school year next year, which is exciting also. There's still a lot of work on Park, but that's exciting. Jane, I do want to thank you for everything. When I approached you about this time last year, I said you just have to give us an update, but we'd like you to be part of this this meeting. I said meetings will not go that long. If they are, I will let you leave. And I knew this last meeting I couldn't let you leave, so it's nearly 2 hours and you're still here. So thank you very much.
Hey, nowhere else I'd rather be.
I don't expect anything left. So, on behalf of our central office team and the Board of Education, got you a small token just to say thanks for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Last but not least, I notified the Board of Education earlier today, as well as the administrative team. Mr. Ross, oh, jeez, Bill is decided to retire from Hudsonville Public Schools next December. And I know we have a few months, and I'm making it sound like it's tomorrow done. But Bill has been just a rock in this district. He's nearing 30 years in education and has a lot of adventures in front of him. He spent 18 years here in Hudsonville, all at Riley Street Middle School. He is that building. His time in Grand Rapids Public Schools built a network of colleagues throughout Western Michigan that he continues to lean on, and they lean on him. As a friend, as a colleague, thank you for the time that you put into this district. We are not going to approve your retirement. We will, however, approve it in June. Just because traditionally it would be on the agenda, and the agenda is posted early, the notification today. Plus, if we approved it now, I don't know what that looks like between now and June. We want you to stay. So, Bill will be stepping away as the principal at Riley Street Middle School. He will remain as an administrator as we start the school year next year, doing administrative duties as they arise. As they arrive, we don't quite know what that looks like, but as you all know, things happen throughout the district. So, Bill, I want to thank you as a colleague, as a friend, as somebody that's been in education a long time. Just watching you work, spending yesterday in the building, I can speak maybe on behalf of Amy and myself. From bus duty in the morning to the gym experience in the morning, which is unique, to bus duty at the end of the day, your staff, your students, job well done, my friend. So I don't know if you want to say a few words to the board.
You sit through a number of these and you never think it's going to be you. So just a couple thank yous. Mr. Davis and Mr. Hall, 16 years ago you said I when they voted on a assistant principal from Grand Rapids to be the principal at Riley. So I thank both of you as well as the leadership team at that time for giving me this opportunity. Education is all about stories and the stories you have. And Dr. Hooper, one of my favorite stories as the principal at Riley is about your oldest son, Jacob. Jacob graduated in 2018 with my son. Jacob was much more academic than my son. Jacob won the Riley Street Middle School spelling bee. And when you win the spelling bee from Riley Street Middle School, you get to go to the regional spelling bee at the Ford Museum downtown. And Jacob just had a network of people, and Mr. Bear and I had a chance to take probably 20 of Jacob's closest friends to the Ford Museum to cheer Jacob on. What we didn't understand about a spelling bee, you had to be quiet, and you couldn't make a lot of noise. So I was pulled in the hallway twice by an usher, because we were cheering too loudly for Jacob. But I think it's moments like that, as an educator, when you see kids support each other, that are the most important, just to witness those types of things. So just a couple other things. I just want to thank our former superintendent, Roxanne DeWeird, for giving me this opportunity. Her two predecessors, Dr. Nick Skolaric and Dr. Vanderjack, for growing me as an administrator. Just a lot of invaluable lessons when you watch skilled people do their job, so thank you for that. I also want to thank, when you're the new guy in town, you need people to lean on. I just want to thank Mark Hegel, John Gillette, and former Jamestown principal Jack Lew. Those were kind of those people that you can pick up the phone and like, how do you do this? You know, and always there to connect with you and give you ideas and suggestions on how to do your job better going forward. All of us know this, that in a position like this, you need a high level of support. I've had a loyal admin assistant, Ann Erickson, for 16 years, and the work I do or get credit for doing is really a testimony to her and the work that she does, the loyal work she does every day for our staff and students. Administrative assistants are amazing people. They get so much done in the chaos of the day, it's amazing. So I just, Ann's not here tonight, but many of you know Ann, and she's the backbone of our school and does a lot for me and for our staff. Just want to thank the outstanding students, Jay Takama, Go Blue, Riley Street alum, and thousands of other students that have walked the halls at Riley. It's an honor to serve them. The committed teachers, I think that's been a focus of mine as an administrator, making sure you're bringing high quality people into the building to work with kids. You know, it's what I wanted for my kids when they attended there, and it's what I want for all parents and their kids when they go to Riley. I want to thank the fantastic parents at Riley. I can't tell you how much, or how many times you can just pick up the phone as a principal and it just hand something over to mom and dad and say, can you handle this tonight? Can you have this conversation? And that doesn't happen everywhere. So just really thankful to the parents in this community that have always been supportive of the work that we do. And just finally, always been proud to say my kids graduated from here. I'll always be proud to say that I worked here. I had to speak to my staff today. I think the hardest thing to say was, and we're a pretty humble group at Riley, and I think the thing that I think we all have in common is all of us just want to be a small part of every student's success story. And that's what I hope I did here for 16 years here in Hudsonville and for the Riley students. So thanks again for the opportunity. Thanks for the opportunity and the flexibility as we enter the fall as well. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Since there's no action tonight, you still have time to change your mind. That is our report this evening.
All right, we will go ahead and do a board roundtable, and I'll start with Mr. Holland.
I'll save my comments on retirement since we have it for a few more months, so we'll talk more about that, I'm sure. A huge thank you again to our community for the support on both millage actions that were on the ballot this past week. Again, a reaffirmation of the support that our community provides this district. That second millage action was a little confusing. I mean, the wording was a little, what is this about? So I know I explained that to more than a few people of what we're really asking on that second millage. But again, thank you to the community. Thank you to those who supported our millage. Continue to provide that strong support to the school and send that message to our district of how good we are, how good our team is. Related to that, and he won't want me to say this, but I'll say it, thank you to Dr. Vanderjack for carrying the water to really drive the message around the millage. And for all you did and all the groups you connected with and the people you talked to and so forth, we appreciate that leadership that you provided to that. So just, again, huge thanks to the community and to Dr. Vanderjack. Mr. Beal and Mr. Mearsma, thank you for hosting me, I know others as well will talk, but me in your schools. Always great to be in schools, always great to talk to teachers and to engage with kids, and so really appreciate the time you hosted us this past week, so thank you, that's it.
Totally concur with what Ken said about being grateful to the community to continue to affirm that they appreciate the work that we're doing. They want us to continue the work they're doing. And thank you to Dr. Vanderjack and his team for all of the work that they did, the calls they made, the meet and greets, speaking to people, being available to talk to them if you had any questions about it. So thank you to the community for supporting us. Little stab in the heart, Bill. When I hear this, I knew that day was coming. I just so appreciate you. So appreciate you. And I know our family does as well. I'm sure Gretchen will be very happy to have Bill around a little bit. But we appreciate you so much.
Yeah, no, emotional night, great night, though, to be able to celebrate everybody, and the future is bright, though. I mean, I just think of the legacy of all the people that we, were able to celebrate tonight. And I was at the high school a couple weeks ago, and I was the first AP US History class years ago. It wasn't APUSH back then, it was AP US History. We weren't cool back then. But I think of the legacy of Dave Nord and, starting that program and the things that he started that have been handed down to the next generation. So to watch Mr. Ray and Mr. Beamer as he led the presidential challenge, the Dave Nord presidential challenge, or whatever it was. Those kids are so smart. Like, it's incredible. You get up there, they give you some obscure historical event, and you have to say who the president was and what their political party was. It's like easy, first couple rounds, Bay of Pigs, JFK, Democrat. But then it's like stuff I've never heard of before. And these kids didn't even blink. They're giving the answer. The passion and the enthusiasm of Ray and Beamer are crazy. Like, I wish you could have seen those guys. They're incredible. And I just think of how that's been handed down generation to generation of teachers. It's a special place in Hudsonville. It's the staff that comes before that's not only helping our students, but they're paying it forward to the next generation of teachers. And I hope that continues, and the staff, the admin in this room, you're a huge part of that. And just thank you for that. And it's fun to be able to see the generations that come. So great opportunity to be there at high school last week.
My sincere thanks to the community as well for passing the millage, and for Dr. Vanderjack. I know you spent a lot of time making phone calls, meeting with groups. Thank you. We appreciate all that support. Great night celebrating a lot of wonderful teachers. And Bill, you're not going to be replaceable. And we're blessed that we have you at least for another six months. I'll take my comments from you.
Yeah, Bill, I've only known you for the last 9 months, or 10 months, 12 months. And even during that short time period, you made an impact on me. I know that when I first started considering working with the board, people told me about men like you, and the integrity that you have, the sincerity that you have, and the care that you have for your kids in your building. I was just in there on Tuesday, and you could just see it. And I just want to challenge all the principals. I think we have a tremendous wealth of riches here in this district. And as I go into your rooms and in your buildings, and I see the tone and the tenor of those buildings, it doesn't happen by accident. As a principal, you have a lot of impact on what goes on in those buildings every day. And I want to thank you for the impact that you're having on our children and our grandchildren. And every once in a while you hear about what impact you have. But even when you don't hear, you have a tremendous amount of impact. And I want to make sure that you know that. I also want to thank my fellow board members. You put a lot of work into this job, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Ken and Mark, who have been presidents in the past, and Dr. Hooper, I appreciate everything that you do to lead us in this, the homework that you put in and those types of things. I appreciate that also. And finally, I just want to end by saying that the Hudsonville Education Foundation just had their spring soiree, and they raised over $25,000 for the students and for the staff and for the teachers in this district. And so I want to thank those on that board who worked very hard and tirelessly to do those types of things. I want to thank the people who contributed of not only their time but their money to this thing. And I want to thank Dr. Vanderjack also, who has a dinner at his house. And I don't know what the bid on that was. It was probably in between 20 and 25,000. But
2,500.
I missed the decimal. But anyway, I want to thank him also for that. So thank you very much, all of you.
I was sorry to miss participation in the Teacher Appreciation Day. I had been asked to work in the election, so I was at Precinct 10. And we had proposals from Hudsonville and from Dennis, and I thought maybe I could use my position to influence the voters, but they wouldn't let me do that. But I'm happy everything passed for both districts. If you probably get this magazine, Hudsonville Living, one of our teachers is featured in there, Becky Bush, so be sure to take a look at that and appreciate what she's doing for us here. Bill, we're going to miss you. I'm glad that I had the privilege of voting in your favor and having you here. You also had my grandchildren, so I appreciate the work you did with them. Robin has some information about a grandchild. They might want to know.
Oh. Sure, but my second grader at South Elementary had his appendix taken out tonight during the meeting, and all went well, so it did rupture. But like Mark said, I just told them before the meeting, and there was another student who just had it too. So.
Will he be back tomorrow for testing or
no? All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move that.
Motion from Mark. Support from Nick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned.